On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about No More Color
by Limp Bizkit. No.
Damn it.
Sorry.
It's by a Swiss band called Coroner.
Yeah.
Not related to Foreigner. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters, and we both love metal, so we're going to talk about it some tonight, a little bit. No Limp Bizkit, though.
No. Sort of been a running joke for the day.
For some reason. I don't even remember how we got on the topic of Limp Bizkit, but then I theorized that if some sort of apocalypse happened and all vestiges of worthwhile music had been erased, I would tell, my children in this theoretical scenario that the greatest musicians who ever lived were known as Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, and their best album was Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Water.
Which is also the best album ever made.
and he attempted to say it repeatedly while keeping a straight face, just for future reference.
I can't. It doesn't work. I'll be doomed if that happens. As I said in the intro, we're going to be talking about a Coroner album called No More Color. Coroner is a technical thrash metal band from Switzerland, founded sometime in the 80s. I have sheets back there.
Out there.
I actually printed out because I have ink again.
This is their 1989 third full-length album.
Their third fur-length?
It's fur-length
album. Yeah, their third full-length album. They were founded in 1983. This is from 89. So, we'll get to talking about that a bit later. Right now.
A fur-length, by the way, is how Edward Furlong measures things.
Does Edward Furlong really measure anything?
Potentially. If he does, it's in fur-lengths.
I suppose. I think Edward Furlong only measures like how much heroin he's doing.
Hey, that's a skill.
That's a skill.
You gotta know. You don't want to do too much or too little for that matter.
Yeah.
Heroin.
How do you know someone is a drug dealer? They're really good at fractions and nothing else.
Especially when it pertains to weights and measures.
Yes, particularly. We're recording this on Wednesday, so tomorrow's the 4th of July, the birth of our nation. Well, the rebirth of our nation.
Indeed. And you're headed down to the lake tomorrow, right?
I think so. I'm not entirely sure. I probably will. I don't have anything else to be doing other than sleeping in. I didn't realize until Monday that I actually had the day off, so I'll probably be heading down there. For some reason I thought we had to work.
On 4th of July?
Yeah, I don't know why. What day was the 4th of July on last year? Was it Wednesday?
I think it was a Wednesday, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I would have thought that we had to work on 4th of July.
What day was the 4th of July on last year? The 4th of July.
Oh, you're so funny. You doing anything fun for the 4th?
Well, my wife is out of town. Last weekend, I went down and played Drunkards and Dragons.
Ah, yes.
At a very pretentious gin and tonic bar, which I loved, down in Mandan, North Dakota, and we had a great time. And then the next morning, I drove her to the airport, and she went to Minnesota to spend time with her old college roommate.
Good old Minnesota.
Yeah. So
that was Irish.
Yeah. High faith in Bogota, Minnesota.
Yeah. That was not a. That was not a Minowegian accent.
A Minowegian brogue.
Yeah. That's a new sentence, I feel.
I feel like it is.
Minowegian brogue. Yeah. You have fun? Dungeons and Drunkens and Dragons?
Oh, a lot of fun. Especially, they set it up to where if you buy a drink, you get a special token that let you re-roll. So every time I spent like $110 on drinks.
God.
And
how drunk did you get?
Decently. She drove. So.
Okay, yeah. You also had charcuterie, which is the mark of something that is really fancy and probably pretentious. And it's just meat and cheese.
Yeah.
It's just little bits.
It's very quality meat and cheese, though.
I suppose, but still, it's to me, having I don't think I've ever ate proper charcuterie.
Really?
I don't think I've been at a place that's fancy enough to have that as an option. Like, and your charcuterie, huh? Is it charcuterie or charcuterie?
I think you were doing it right, charcuterie.
Charcuterie, something like that.
One of these times we'll have to make a road trip down
It's made of sharks.
Yes, it's charcuterie. It's cute. It's adorable.
Cute sharks.
Made of cheese made from shark milk.
I see. Good old shark milk. I love to dip a nice Oreo in a glass of shark milk.
Oh, delicious.
Glass of ice cold shark milk. My very favorite. I wonder how whale milk tastes.
I don't know. Where are the whale's teats? Are they on the bottom or are they on the...
Yeah, they're on the bottom. What do you think? They were on the top?
Well, that's where their nose is. So, I mean...
Well, yeah, but I guess.
I mean,
but
it would seem dangerous to swim under like a blue whale.
Think about it this way, right?
For a pup.
Where are a horse's teats?
On the bottom, sure.
Well, whales are fairly closely related to horses. They're, there's some least common ancestry there.
Cattle, yeah.
So the teats would be on the bottom, and they are, as far as I know. They're on the bottom and somewhat towards the back.
You never see a whale's tits.
You really don't.
I want to make that an expression. You know, if somebody says something, I'm just going to respond with that and see where it goes.
All right.
You know, something else, you never see a whale's tits.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I think something like I remember watching Blue Planet 2, and it's like because a whale can't really suckle, right?
Sure,
it doesn't have lips, so I don't, and I'm not entirely sure how exactly it worked. I think they kind of just like comes out or something. I don't know. And then the whale kind of filter feed. I don't know. I'm not a fucking marine biologist, okay?
You know, and I feel
why
kind of
did
bad.
I even try?
I feel kind of bad at this point. I sort of stared at you in wild wonder as you were just tripping over yourself trying to describe whale lactation.
I'm not a fucking marine biologist. What do I look like? A whaleist?
A cetacean biologist?
A cetaceous? What is a whale scientist?
A cetacean biologist.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They study whales and dolphins and shit.
Okay. I believe you.
Mm-hmm.
Some things that happened. I got one of them sitting right here. Well, I got two of them sitting right here. I have my copy of Blackwater Park
awesome.
by Opeth. Which we're going to be talking about next week.
Sweet.
Since it's on my mind, since I finally got my vinyl here.
That's big and heavy. I mean,
it's a long fucking album.
How many discs are in here? 4 discs? No, 2.
2 discs. 4 sides.
4 sides.
Yeah.
There's 4 records in here. It's
probably
4 one-sided records.
It's probably like the heavy vinyl.
Sure.
I also recently got I think I probably talked about this last week. I got my copies of Remission and
nice.
Once More Around the Sun. Those are not Once More Around the Sun. Sorry, Crack the Sky, Mastodon albums.
Right.
Remission was interesting. When I put it on to give it a spin, it was a 45.
It was a 45?
Yeah, one of two albums I have now that is a 45 for no discernible reason.
Really? Is it a full? I mean, is it a full 10-inch? Is it a?
Yeah, it's full size. It's just 45 RPM.
Is it 2 albums or is it just really short?
It's 2 discs.
Really?
Yeah, it's 2 discs and they're 45 RPM. And the same thing with my Jane Doe album. That's 2 discs and 45 RPM, and I don't know why.
Wow.
I don't know if there's some sort of weird technical thing. Maybe it lets you fit more on the same size disc. I don't know.
Do you ever just for fun listen to 33 1/3 at 45?
Not really. No. I can't that like damage something a little bit?
Apparently.
Yeah. I usually don't do that. And I haven't listened to any of mine backwards. I know that's the big thing to do, is listening to albums backward. And my my record player has the capability, as most do, but to spin backwards, I just haven't done it.
I wish I could remember which Santana album it is that has a message at the end of the first or second side where it goes, and then you play it the other way around and it says, "Looking for satanic messages is bad for your needle."
That's funny. That's good.
Yeah.
Also, it's Satana. So
Santana. It's not Satana.
Well, I got it confused with the hot magician lady from DC Comics.
Okay. Right.
Zatanna.
Zatanna.
Yeah. So I got those records. I also got some new D&D stuff. I got the book Ghosts of Saltmarsh, which is as of now the only true adventure module that I have. Just in case I ever want to run an adventure module, I figured, I'll pick something up in case there's like a pop-up game or something like that.
Nice.
If I don't want to run my starter module again. I keep on looking for the new Essentials kit at Target, but the Target here in Minot does not carry it for some reason or another, even though they're supposed to have an exclusive deal with Wizards of the Coast. Do have the new Essentials kit on sale there until it goes, wide in September. But yeah, they don't carry it at the one in Target, and I don't know if they're going to, so I might just order it online. But I got Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and I also got a cool new journal. Technically, I'm not planning on really doing any journaling. This is more for D&D notes.
It looks like a D&D notes journal.
Well, yeah, that's why I bought it.
It looks like it's bound in human flesh.
It's brown leather with really cool sort of Celtic tree design in the middle that I really liked. So I was like, I'm getting this for D&D, so it might as well be some sort of fantasy looking thing.
Sure.
And I'm happy with that. It's cool looking. It's got a nice little sort of lanyard thing to keep it closed. Doesn't have a lock or anything. It's, I'm not keeping my deep dark secrets in there.
Where do you keep those?
In my head.
Just in your head?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just in my head.
You don't let them shout out loud?
No, not really, no. I don't really have any particularly dark secrets. I've got weird things that I like, but
sure,
I don't have any like dark secrets that would ruin my life. I never murdered anybody or anything.
No. But Twizzlers, never mind.
All right, Kyle. All right, Professor Kyle. Doing your experiments. Shout out to Kyle Kinane, comedian, co-host of the Boogie Monster podcast.
What's the beer? This is Founders Centennial IPA.
Yes, Founders Centennial IPA. I figured since it's the day before Independence Day, I'd get something that kind of had an American-sounding name.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go with like a classic American beer like a Budweiser or something, because I wanted to actively enjoy it,
sure,
rather than just have a very neutral feeling about it.
Budweiser's owned by a foreign company now.
Yeah. My problem with like a lot of American light beers, I don't have a problem with them per se. They're fine. Like there are people who are like, ugh, I hate them. It's like, no, they're fine. How can you hate something that is nothing?
Right.
It's a nothing beer. It's fine. I will drink it. It is okay.
They don't try to bother you with flavor or anything like that.
There's not enough going on to dislike. There are fancier craft beers that I don't like because they have flavors going on that I don't care for. But this is a Centennial IPA, and
good.
I like me some IPAs. It's summertime, so hey, might as well.
Though it rained today.
Very overcast day before the 4th of July.
And it might rain tomorrow.
There's a slight chance. I think was the last forecast was just a slight chance of rain tomorrow afternoon.
I believe there's a 20% chance of a shower and a slight chance of thunderstorm, mainly in the afternoon. And I believe the temperature will be into the low 70s.
Thank you, Mr. Meteorologist.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to get into the album?
Sure.
All right. So like I said, we're talking about No More Color. It's an album that came out in 1989 by the Swiss band Coroner. They're a technical thrash metal band that sort of have some progressive type leanings. Really came up as a part of this sort of wave of slightly more... as thrash metal was beginning to mature.
Yeah, this was the album where they really turned a corner. They kind of really put those progressive elements into the music. The first two albums, awesome, but they were just more straightforward, like thrash.
Yeah, this was coming out at around the time that Death was beginning to, hang out and find their stride. And
the band, yeah.
Yeah. No, Death itself has been around forever.
Sure.
He's been hanging out doing his thing.
Wearing his cowl and his scythe and...
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of Death,
Where are you going?
I was gonna make a insulting joke at your expense about your age.
Oh, okay.
But I couldn't quite work out the punchline.
And now it's kind of too late.
Yeah, it's kind of too late. So anyway, when did Coroner come into your life?
Coroner came into my life, I'd say about when this album came out, about 1989.
All right, cool.
I got on board with the third album, then I bought the first two, and I loved it. Loved it an awful lot.
Where were you at that time?
I had just moved back to the United States.
Okay. So you had, relatively speaking, infinite access to all the music.
Well, I mean, back in my day, speaking of old people, if you wanted an album, you had to either go buy it or find somebody who had it and copy it from them. You couldn't just go to the internet and say, "Internet, play me this music."
But compared to the Philippines...
Oh, well, the Philippines, yeah, that was...
back in the States had to have been just like, oh, wow, I can actually, go to the record store and they have all this shit.
I can go to Musicland and look for the records and say, there's bad words on this and want to buy it.
Exactly. You didn't have to... You didn't have to know a guy or find the one copy at the BX or do it. It was more accessible. Mm-hmm. Obviously, not as accessible as today. You couldn't log on to Spotify and go play me Coroner.
No, I still remember the day. I had to have been about 15 years old, 14 years old, maybe
15.
And I was at the BX and I saw Nuclear Assault. I'm like, no way, their new album is at the BX in the Philippines.
How was it?
Oh, it was great.
Cool.
It was one of the better days of my teens.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
This just turned into public radio. Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, very nice. I like that. Got kind of mildly sexual with my... Yeah.
I'll talk about that later.
Okay.
One of our coworkers did some voice recording.
Yeah.
Did you get to listen to that?
I didn't get to listen to it, but I heard the aftermath and the immediate reaction. But
the owner said, actually, and I quote, "What the fuck?"
At any rate, I can't really. Trying to piece myself. I'm just having a weird night, man.
Are you all right, man?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've felt kind of weird today, to be honest. Really? I've had my tea and I've still got my ongoing throat problems, but maybe it's just because I've already had a beer and now I'm having.
You're working
beer.
on number 2
beer,
and this is a decently strong beer too.
Yeah, it is. Should have been a little bit more careful, but it's we got the day off tomorrow, so
yeah.
I wasn't afraid.
You're playing fast and loose.
Playing fast and loose with it tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I've had kind of a weird day, and then I had one of those bubbler drinks.
Oh, sure,
out of the fridge.
Yeah.
Are those caffeinated?
I don't think so. I know they're diet drinks.
Yeah,
and I can taste the dietness too.
Yeah,
so kind of.
Well, it's carbonated water anyway. There's how much do you expect from it, really?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can do just carbonated water. In fact, I love just carbonated water. But when they put the stevia in there and gives it that sort of metallic aftertaste.
I don't mind. I didn't mind them. I think they're fine. Maybe it was just like a placebo sort of thing because it like they say, it's loaded with antioxidants to do all sorts of stuff. So
it's apparently good for you.
I felt energized after I drank it and kind of blasted through my entire shift a little bit. I kind of needed to anyway because I had to schedule 2 days and sort through the logs of 2 days on a Wednesday, which I normally don't have to do till Friday.
Right.
And I'm going to have to do it again on Friday. But then I came home and never really got a chance to decompress all that much. Immediately started watching YouTube videos and then responding to Facebook messages and re-listening to the album and working on stuff. So been all over the place tonight. But what I was going to say is when I was a teenager, when I started listening to metal, I was still at the point where I didn't have money. I didn't have any money at all.
Right.
And so for me, the only way I could get album is my older friend. The only way I could get album is my older friend who listened to metal and had Avenged Sevenfold CDs and or at least on his computer and all that, was asking him to burn me CDs so I could download them and have them on my iPod and whatnot. That was a hand me down, and because I didn't have money at the time, And my friend is also notoriously lazy and tardy, and like he's late for everything and with everything. I love him to pieces, but like I asked him to burn me an album, and I don't think I got a CD back until about 2 months later.
Wow.
Then I was also friends with his girlfriend, and went and visited her in Bismarck one day. Pretty sure I was with him. I don't remember. At any rate, she had a bunch of those same albums. I was like, will you please do this for me? Because he's not. And she was like, sure. And I got those back a week later.
Sweet.
So that was a bit easier. But yeah, that was like, for me, burning those CDs it was Avenged Sevenfold, A Day to Remember, Rise Against.
Sure.
Sort of bands like that.
Three Doors Down.
No, actually, no. It was all like hardcore punk type stuff.
Right.
And
Nickelback.
Metalcore. Nope. That was younger.
Oh, okay.
That was when I was younger and did not know any better. Anyhow,
Moment of silence.
Just a moment of silence for the follies of youth.
Hey, I was there too, man.
Yeah.
Only the shit that I listened to when I was younger that was dumb, stuff you've never heard of. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You don't need to be embarrassed about it because no one remembers it.
Exactly.
So does this album slap?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, this album slaps. You seen those Russian slapping competition videos?
It does that.
That big, heavy, bearded dude that doesn't really slap people, but just basically palm strikes people.
Right.
And probably has given many of those competitors brain damage.
Sure.
It's kind of like that. This album slaps really fucking hard.
All the way through.
Yes, very much so. All the way through. There's hardly a dull moment. The only time it really slows down is in the closing track.
Right.
And even that it's not that slow.
Right, and they're reading poetry and
yeah. So I looked up some reviews here and managed to find an average of about 80.
Okay.
There was one that was 100.
Really?
I'm trying to remember who that was from. I think it might have been like Metal Storm or something. They rated it at a 5.0 as a classic. Then there was the only one that's on their Wikipedia page is from AllMusic, and they gave it a 3 out of 5.
A 3 out of 5?
Which to me seemed really low. That seemed unfairly low to an album like this, especially when you compare it to the thrash metal of its day. There weren't a lot of bands that were innovating in quite the same way that they were. There was plenty of bands that were innovating and adding and coming up with new sounds. We talked about Death earlier, and they were starting to do that at around this time. Scream Bloody Gore came out the same year, didn't it?
Scream Bloody Gore I thought was 87. Oh no, Leprosy was 87. Scream Bloody Gore, no?
I thought Scream Bloody Gore was 89. Because I think Leprosy was like 91 or something.
And Spiritual Healing was 90, though, wasn't it?
I don't know. We're going to have to look this up later. I feel like... I thought maybe Death came a little bit later than...
I think Death was founded the same year these guys were. Like
really?
82 or 83, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to verify that a little bit later. All I know is I'm not sure anymore. I was sure, and now I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm glad I could shake your foundation.
Thank you. I've been rocked to my very core. But yeah, there weren't a lot of thrash metal bands that were quite innovating the way that these guys were. Especially by '89, I feel like thrash was kind of stagnating a little bit. Like, I think by the mid '90s, the only thrash metal bands that were left that were really still kicking and doing stuff were your big fours.
Sure.
That were still going around and touring. And to me, as an outsider and a person that wasn't around then, it feels like a lot of the thrash metal bands that kept going through that period were the big ones, and the new music that was coming out was death metal and black metal and all these different more evolved forms of metal, so to speak. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
do you feel that way?
I do feel that way. I mean, thrash did continue into the 90s. It actually did continue, and there were little things here and there, and some good music. But
yeah, it never quite had its heyday in the 90s like it did in the 80s.
Right.
In the mid to late 80s. What's your favorite song?
Well, one of my favorite songs, period, is Mistress of Deception. That's that one, and I also on this album love Tunnel of Pain.
Okay.
And Yeah, every song on here is great.
Oh yeah, a lot of the songs on here really rip. I kind of latched on to "Read My Scars" because of the unconventional opening.
Actually, that's "Read My Scars." Yeah.
I thought it was a different one, but when I re-listened to it and had the names up in front of me, because earlier I was listening to it while I was working, and wasn't looking at the names. But yeah, it's an uncomfortable pause that really kind of like brings up this tension because you're not my brain can't quite make sense of the time signature, and so I'm like, how long are they waiting? It feels like, oh, there it is. And that just was really got my attention and made me pay attention to the song. There was a lot on this album to appreciate. I really enjoyed sort of the almost screamed vocals.
Yeah. It's almost like whispered but screamed, but
a little bit. Yeah.
Doing? Yeah.
It's kind of a softer but still very gruff sort of vocal to it. It's a little low in the mix, which might be why it sounds a little bit less prominent. But
and originally, before they recorded their first album, Tom G. Warrior was doing the vocals in the band.
Who's Tom G. Warrior? I'm sorry. You're looking at me like, oh, you sweet child.
You're going to make me say it, though. He was the singer and guitar player for Celtic Frost.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've heard Tom say Celtic Frost, but...
Tom is wrong. It's Celtic. At any rate,
yeah. And then Ron, who, by the way, I've long said is my favorite Swiss bass player.
Out of all the Swiss bass players that you know of, he's your favorite.
He's my favorite. I mean, he all that crazy shit that he does on the bass, it's all handpicked. That's finger picking.
Oh, finger picking. Okay. Yeah. While it is impressive, I feel like there's a lot of metal bassists that play bass with the fingers.
Yeah.
Nowadays, anyway.
Yeah.
Like Troy Sanders is, plays with the fingers, and
Troy Sanders has been on Bass Player Magazine twice.
Yeah, that wasn't a great comparison to make because Troy Sanders is a fantastic bassist, but like I couldn't come up with a name simply by virtue of bassists not usually being the most prominent members of metal bands.
What do you call your bass player after he breaks up with his girlfriend? Homeless. What do you throw your bass player if he's drowning? His amp. I was in a band. I heard all these jokes.
Yeah. Poor bass players. And I was thinking about this earlier today when I was thinking about Gojira, and I was thinking about Mastodon and bands like that are known for having these big chunky riffs.
Yeah.
And it's like people love, big, dense, chunky riffs. It's not the tuning of the guitar. It's not the guitar itself. It's not, whatever pedals the guitarist has, if you're the rhythm guitarist. A big chunky riff is entirely reliant on the bass. If you don't have good bass behind a big chunky riff, it's going to fall apart. And that's all I have to say about that.
Indeed.
And that's all I have to say about
That's right, Jack White.
That's right, Kirk Hammett.
No, remember the White Stripes didn't have a bass player.
I'm not entirely... I know who the White Stripes are and who Jack White is.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to White Stripes.
Right.
I was thinking of Injustice for All.
Oh, sure, with the no bass in it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Jason Newsted showed up and he played. And they recorded it, and
just didn't really end up on album.
Nope, not really.
Poor Jason Newsted. I imagine those songs sound much better live. Like how does Injustice for All actually sound? I know there's Injustice for Bass,
right?
But like on the original version, does it sound like it's missing the bass?
On the original CD?
Yeah.
That was the first CD I ever got, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. No, it's not there. I mean, you have to really jam your head in the speaker, and you can kind of make out a faint ghost whisper of a bass line.
Because to me, just like it's metal without bass. People make the joke that you don't really need it because it's so low in the mix, but really you do.
You do.
You really need it because that's how you fill out the sound. That's what makes this the sound itself. First, the sound itself is filled out.
Right.
And then once you play it through speakers, that's how it kind of fills a room. Otherwise, to me, it just sounds hollow.
It is both a counter melody, I'm about to say three things, and using the word both. Both a counter melody and a sound filler and a rhythm instrument.
Yeah, it's bass. I agree with what pretty much every member of Mastodon said in their Emperor of Sand documentary. Bass is the foundation of the band for the most part. Like bass and drums are, in a sense, the two most important instruments. Because that is what everything else is built on top of.
Right.
And like
guitars are the icing.
Yes, guitars are the icing on top of the bass and drum cake. I could probably listen to an album that was just bass, guitar, and drums. Okay, maybe not.
You made a bold statement and then walked it back.
Yeah, I had to walk it back just a little bit. Had to tone that one down. I don't want to be saying anything outlandish on this podcast. Somebody's going to make an album of just bass and drums and be like, hey, douchebag, listen to this. Yeah, somebody's going to do that on my behalf. Anyway.
What was the name of the band? Oh, the Presidents of the United States of America. Do you remember them at all?
No.
They didn't have a bass and a guitar. They had a get bass and a bassitar. They both had hybrid instruments that were a combination of bass guitar and regular guitar.
Interesting. I'm imagining a lot of finger picking is what I'm imagining. Because, like, to me, the easiest way to go between the lower... Was it so bassitar? Bassitar, is that two necks?
No, it was all on one neck.
It's on one
bassitar
neck.
and a get bass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because for me, I was imagining two necks, and like to me, it wouldn't really be metal. But if you
they were not a metal band.
Yeah, if you played it finger style, it'd be kind of easier to sort of go up to one of the bass strings and hit it as sort of an accompaniment type.
Yeah.
Dealio.
I saw them on stage.
Really?
Yeah.
How was it?
I was pretty drunk. It was it was good.
So it was amazing.
Yeah, they opened for White Zombie of all bands.
Interesting.
In Bismarck. It was the last thing I ever did with my first wife.
Okay. You divorced her that night.
Yeah, yeah. Rob Thomas. Rob Zombie signed the papers.
No, Rob Thomas was filling in for Rob Zombie that night. It was a really weird night.
Matchbox Zombie.
That would be one hell of a show. Just Rob Zombie, but played with Rob Thomas. Find out if it's going to be a hot one. Also, Santana was filling in for Rob Zombie's guitarist.
Wow.
Is Rob Zombie the guitarist of Rob Zombie?
One of them, yeah.
Okay, the other guitarist was filling in.
Was Satana.
With Satana. Yeah, well, he was Satana for that night. It's a Rob Zombie show.
Right. Yeah.
Anyhow, Coroner. I have a pour spout. For some reason, I put it in my beer bottle, and I'm going to take a drink out of that and see how it goes. It's fine. It's a very inefficient way to bring beer into your mouth.
If you want to pour beer shots, I suppose.
Yeah. If you do, a power hour.
We're doing beer shots. That'd be weird.
Yeah. Well, that's power hour. Is you have a shot shot of beer every minute, right?
Something like a shot every minute.
A shot every minute.
A power hour.
The only way you can survive that, I feel like, is by doing a shot of beer every minute.
A shot of seltzer.
Yeah. Because otherwise, you're going to have to get your stomach pumped.
You go wake up in a hospital.
Yep. Anyway.
If you wake up.
If you wake up at all, yeah. It's been a weird day.
It has been a weird day. It's been an odd duck day.
Well, I feel like because we're getting a day off in the middle of the week. That's why it feels weird. What time is it? It's only 7:26. Jesus Christ.
I got here early.
You did get here a little bit early.
Yeah.
Because I'm just running out of stuff to talk about. I guess we could talk a little bit about the history of Coroner. I guess I could read off of the page here.
Sure.
So yeah, I love how their history section starts with career and breakup.
Career and breakup. Yeah.
So yeah, the Swiss thrash trio Coroner were originally a road crew for Celtic Frost.
Right.
They eventually cut their own songs, recording the demo Death Cult. That's a great name. With Tom G. Warrior of Celtic Frost on vocals.
Like I said earlier.
Full-length R.I.P. was released in 87. Featured bass player Ron Broder on vocals, as he assumed the role for the rest of the group's existence.
They changed his name to Ron Royce.
Yeah. They kind of skip over any details of the rest of their career and just say they released 4 more albums through 1993, ending with a greatest hits collection. Lack of media exposure brought this band to disbanding in 1995 and to their farewell tour consequent to their self-titled album in January and February of 96. I'm surprised that it was they cited lack of media exposure there, because it's like, I guess, metal, thrash metal was the big thing in the late 80s and early 90s as far as rock music goes, but like lack of media exposure, there weren't other problems going on.
They did reform later on.
Yes, it said 2005.
Yeah. And in fact, I saw some footage. There's a metal cruise, which someday I want to go on. Yeah, and they played on the metal cruise.
Nice.
This was like just a handful of years ago.
Is there anyone else you can think of that's played on has had a residency on a metal cruise?
I don't remember at the top of my head. I just remember seeing these guys and not knowing who it was at first, because I'm like, wow, I hope that somebody helps that guy up. Oh shit,
so old. Oh shit, it's Coroner. They're gonna need a Coroner.
Yeah,
but are they really that old? I wouldn't think that the guys in the band would be quite so old. I mean, I guess Metallica's kind of getting up there, but they're only in their 50s, right?
Yeah, they're mid to late 50s.
Yeah, so that's not that old. They're younger than my dad. Nobody that's younger than my dad can be old.
These guys didn't necessarily age extremely well. So, yeah,
whatever they were doing in the decade in between.
Yeah, it doesn't say how old like Ron is or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or Tommy.
Interestingly, they've been remembered as the Rush of thrash metal for bringing in the technical
really
and progressive elements to it. And
the Rush of thrash metal.
Yes, the Rush of thrash metal.
Should be a good band name.
It's like the Eagles of death metal.
Yeah, the Rush of thrash metal. Yeah. And hopefully nobody gets shot at our performance.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. I felt like there was a lot of shit like that going on that year.
Yeah.
Was that 2016?
Was it?
Or was that 17? That was the same year as there was another shooting like that at a nightclub that burned down.
The nightclub that burned down?
The
Pulse, like in
Pulse,
Florida, right?
Yeah, in Florida. That one happened that year, I think. Although that was in Florida, and the Eagles of Death Metal
was in France,
but still. Yeah, I don't know. Don't want to get bummed out too much.
We brought things down. What are we doing next week?
Gonna kind of keep things down with another mildly depressing album. It's not that depressing.
No.
Progressive death metal act Opeth, although they're not really progressive death metal anymore, but
no, they were at the time.
Yeah, back in 2000 or no, is this 99? I can't remember when Blackwater Park came out. I think it was 2000 or 2001.
Doesn't it say on the bottom there? In the bottom of the back?
Let's look here. 2001.
2001.
So yeah, back in 2001, Opeth was still a progressive death metal band. Now they're more of just a progressive rock band, sort of psychedelic rock. Bucka. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's my favorite drum fill.
Bucka. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing right now.
It's all right. You're okay, man. Everything's okay.
Okay.
You're okay. I'm okay.
We're both okay. No, they're
because you're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you.
Thank you. I like you just the way you are. Anyway, so yeah, they're from Sweden, and they're up there with my favorite bands, I'd say. I quite enjoy a lot of their works. I really enjoy the sounds that their vocalist makes, sort of the two tones of Michael Ackerfeld. And I think Blackwater Park is relatively widely considered to be one of their best albums,
yes.
if not the best album of theirs. Amazing production for a 2001 album.
Nice.
So I'm excited to get to talking about that next week.
That is something that bums me out a little bit, by the way.
What?
Is the fact that when I first started recording music, it was nearly impossible to get a good recording of anything because it was back when we were recording things on wax cylinders and shit.
And now that you're not in a band anymore, you can record stuff that sounds just as good or better on your phone.
On your phone, right? Yeah. Which I don't know. I've thought about doing.
It's always available to you, or even mildly better. You can bring it over here and just. Or you could borrow my microphone and my board or something and just mic up your amp and go to town. And, I don't know, buy some sort of cheap drum machine or something. I don't know.
Just a keyboard with the drum setting on it.
Because you have a bass guitar, don't you?
I do. I have a bass and a guitar and a...
Yeah, so you can get something that has a drum machine on it, and there you go. You can make your own album.
And that reminds me, my basement flooded.
Your basement flooded.
So I don't know whether or not my wah pedal works anymore. It was sitting in water.
Uh-oh.
I haven't turned it on.
Put it in rice. Put it in rice.
Put it in rice.
Take it apart. Put it in rice.
That's what I do with the kids when they get out of the pool.
All right, get in the bucket.
Time to dry out.
They just come out. It's like they've been tarred and feathered, but they're just covered in rice. It's a weird visual.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. If you like this sort of nonsense, I'm ending this.
Okay.
I'm calling it quits.
You're pushing it to the floor and capping when it's a skull.
Yeah. I'm throwing in the towel on this one. If you like this sort of nonsense, I don't know why you would, but
hey, we love you for it.
And we love you for it, but we don't understand you. You can check out our Facebook page and our Twitter page. We always post every new episode. It's, I believe, just Bronze Metalist on both of those. Maybe Bronze_Metalist. I'm not sure. You'll be able to find it.
You have the skill.
Yeah. Hashtag Bronze Metalist on Twitter. That'll take you to it because I'm the only one that ever uses that hashtag.
I use it.
You okay? Well, yeah.
I reference. I've actually got responses from some of the bands that we've.
Yeah, you. as I discovered the other week, you've been doing that unbeknownst to me. So, I guess you'll find OJ's tweets as well. But, we'll always post new episodes there so you can find them and also share them with your friends and say, hey, I like this. You should like this too. And maybe they will. Maybe they won't. I don't know. In any case, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Cale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.